the Condon Committee, led by physicist Edward Condon. But even while it was underway, there were signs that it wasn't exactly being conducted in a spirit of free inquiry.
What? How so? The committee was a multidisciplinary group of scientists all selected because they had no preconceived opinions about UFOs. Anyone biased one way or the other was not allowed on the committee. They spent 2 years investigating thousands of UFO sightings and openly shared their results. How is that not free inquiry?
Condon was a respected scientist, but was hardly impartial about UFOs. Before the study even began, he said in a speech, "There's nothing to it." He later wrote the authors of UFO books should be horsewhipped.
The scientific method doesn't go 1, hypothesis, 2, horsewhip anyone who disagrees with you, 3, conclusion. You're thinking of religion.
Okay, it's a funny joke. Except, John's news source got their facts wrong, and his diligent fact-checkers missed it. First of all, 1967 was after the study began in '66, so if Condon was impartial going into the project, he certainly started to form opinions after sifting through all those UFO reports. Which brings us to the second quote, which isn't a quote at all. I know this because I had to pay $30 for a copy of the original article. It turns out research isn't cheap, so if you enjoy this show, please subscribe and click the like button. It's free and it really helps. And if you do have a spare $1 or $2, please consider supporting me on Patreon so I can continue obsessively paying for stuff like this to share with you. UFOs I Have Loved and Lost, in which Condon reflects on his adventures aboard the committee. He describes his initial enthusiasm that finding extraterrestrials would be an epic discovery that he would be quite happy to make. Then came the disappointment as his evidence that they were looking for just couldn't be found. Like any good scientist, he set up a control group. People who saw identified flying objects, such as the atmospheric re-entry of the Zond 4 rocket, which was observed by hundreds of people on March 3, 1968. Some of whom didn't know what it was and reported it as a UFO. In comparing these reports, he found there is an extraordinary disagreement among the descriptions of what was seen by different observers of the same event. Yeah, kind of a problem. At least most eyewitnesses are just making honest mistakes, but he also encountered a different type of person, and this is where he started to lose his cool. Here's just one example. I was visited several times by a man who claimed to be an agent for the third universe. The nice man explained that we're in the first universe and the second is inhabited by beings that resemble polar bears. The third universe was offering to teach us how to build interstellar flying saucers for the low price of $3 billion, with a modest down payment of only $3,000 by direct deposit, please. Yeah, I don't know why an advanced alien civilization would need US dollars or have a bank account in Colorado, but these are the sorts of con artists Condon and his committee had to deal with on a regular basis, and that's who he wanted to horsewhip. Not anyone who disagrees with him, but anyone who sold lies and scammed others for money. And the actual quote is that they should, on being found guilty, be publicly horsewhipped and forever banned from further activity in these usually honorable professions. Truth and children's minds are too precious for us to allow them to be abused by charlatans. So, I don't know the guy personally and whether he literally meant horsewhip scammers or if that was just his way of saying that he was pissed off with them. But his point was that the public's scientific literacy is low, charlatans and pseudoscientists are making things worse and should be stopped, because we need better quality education to teach children the scientific method. The real one. He was advocating for the opposite of that.
Other scientists at the time, including Carl Sagan, pushed back on the tone of Condon's report.
Okay, citation? Quote? What exactly did Carl Sagan say to criticize the report? Because he certainly agreed with its scientific conclusions. And you know, I think it's really too bad that this was the one and only mention Carl Sagan got in a show about UFOs, because he wrote probably the best book I've ever seen on the subject. In this book, he recalls a childhood reading all the tabloid stories about flying saucers and alien abductions, so that when he went to college, he was already a true believer. He decided to study astronomy so that he could prove the existence of extraterrestrial visitors. But when he subjected his beliefs to the scientific method, he was disappointed. He writes, after misapprehended natural events and hoaxes and psychological aberrations are removed from the dataset, is there any residue of very credible but extremely bizarre cases, especially ones supported by physical evidence? Is there a signal hiding in all that noise? In my view, no signal has been detected. There are reliably reported cases that are unexotic, and exotic cases that are unreliable. There are no cases, despite well over 1 million UFO reports since 1947, in which something so strange that it could only be an extraterrestrial spacecraft is reported so reliably that misapprehension, hoax, or hallucination can be reliably excluded. There's still part of me that says, too bad.